description of which reads as follows. Curse grown on a corpse killed and defiled by the Dung Eater. Ender pox afflicted with omen horns. Activates the seed fade curse on corpses. By doing so, souls returning to the Earth Tree, leaving them cursed to one of the most loathsome things found in the world. So again, this has to be one of the most lore significant so much here. Firstly, it links the curse to the that sprout from the seedbed. I'll return to this. Aside from that, it tells us something else dramatic. The process by which the dung cultivate these seedbeds by preventing souls from returning to the Earth Tree. That disconnect between the moment and the Earth Tree, we are untouched by the Earth Tree's grace. Of a victim's soul, combined with his name Dung. So some in the community coming up with a fairly satisfying answer as to exactly what his process is, what this defilement. The source for my information on the subject comes from Reddit, and unfortunately the original Reddit user has so I can't credit them. But in an excellent post, they tie the Dung Eater's name and process to Japanese folklore. They explain that in some Japanese folklore, there is a concept known as the Shirkodama. This is a hard ball found within the backside that contains one soul. In this same folklore, there are the Kappa, a mythical seek to steal this ball and devour it, and so essentially steal the soul, this hard ball, from the victim's rear end. And I don't want to explain it in any more graphic terms in case I get demonetized. To me, this is the most satisfying tie-in to what we know about the Dung Eater. He takes the soul via the rear end and devours them, hence the Dung Eater, the Soul Eater. It would explain its unfortunate title if he's eating the soul from the victim's rear end, it would be Dung Eater. And it would explain the word defilement and the sheer horror expressed by the author. This is a pretty horrific process, and no wonder it would lead to a society hanging a madman who was stealing people's souls in this way. Indeed, this would also explain why the blood of the victims that have the seedbed seem to have their wounds on the lower half of the body. To those skeptical about this connection, I would also point out that this is not the first time that From Software has been done. And in fact, it's actually been done more directly in Sekiro. In Sekiro, there are certain type of spirit enemies known as the Headless, and one of their gravatags involves extracting a hardened stone from Sekiro's rear. This is a soul-eating gravitat where the soul is found and pulled from Sekiro's behind. So it's as if the Dung Eater is stealing people's souls after they're dead, denying a connection. Monarika seems to imply that these souls, the souls that he has devoured, are still connected to the Dung Eater, tortured spirits that are denied rest, that follow Dung Eater around in a maelstrom.
Hey there, no need to adjust your TV, or more likely your phone. You're watching a recycled commercial. See, at Mint Mobile, we're always looking for innovative ways to save our...
The howling and wailing of spirits in fear of the curse. I can even hear the repulsive twisted malice in itself.
All of this is interesting, especially the mention of the souls in the seedbed curse item description. The concept of a soul isn't mentioned much at all in Elden Ring, compared to Dark Souls or Demon Souls. It is used repeatedly in the story of the Queen. The resulting removal of a soul from a human body results in these seedbeds that have omen horns. A seedbed literally means a bed from which things grow or germinate. So from a soulless corpse, the Dung Eater literally cultivates a little bit of curse, directly tying the omen condition to the idea of soullessness, and this process done by the Dung Eater. Now, this is a drop in the ocean ultimately. Dung Eater is one man, and his labour would take generations if he was to spread it manually to everyone in the world. Upon his defeat at our hands, he eventually realizes that the guidance he received is the ultimate answer to his quest, that he is not just to do the dung eating anymore, but in fact his flesh is to become the vessel for these seedbed curses, eventually germinate something that will curse itself.
Here you are. Rid of my blessing, despite the curse stirring within you. No one has succeeded in that before. I thought, him, that you are, in fact, me, and I am Dung Eater. It is my flesh must receive the blessing. Your blessing. Defile my flesh with the seedbed curse, again and again, until it is done, till the cursed ring coalesces, and may one day defile order itself. Countless I have killed, and countless I have defiled, and soon the fruits will be born, hundreds will be reborn cursed. There'll be thousands of cursed children, and tens of thousands more. A few of those will be born just like me, and they'll kill and defile and bless in my stead the rotten fools. Fate was the grandest, most brilliant of them all.
He will no longer be an instrument of defilement, rather the vessel for it. His body is now to be defiled. The result will be a more cosmic and wide-reaching curse that will be gestated within him, that will spread his curse throughout all of Order. However, we will return to the Dung Eater and his mending rune at the conclusion of this video. Now I want to return to the matter of their soul, or a lack of it. Now, we spoke about the Omen and their physical form before, but we didn't speak about their power. There is a power to the Omen. Their confinement isn't just one of prejudice, though that certainly does play a part, as we have already discussed. Both Morgott and Moog have power within their blood. Moog's power seems to have been intensified by his contact with the formless mother and his blood being ignited. And the power of Morgott's cursed blood is unleashed when we push him to the brink during the battle for the Elden Throne. In Hawkshaw's Perfumer he made a great point that there seems to be a relation between the Omen horns and the power of the Omen. Specifically, Omen horns grow in the seedbed curse, implying that these horns are directly tied to the curse itself. And more importantly, horned Omens that can utilize their more advanced powers. Those with trimmed horns are reliant on their brute force only. When I talk about powers, I'm referring to the regal omen, horned omens, ability to breathe, fire, release their curse in a bombardment, and wreathe their swords in this brown-black omen flame. This is an ability not used by the trimmed omen, suggesting the power of the curse itself is connected to the omen horns. Manifestation and a nexus of this curse and its power. Hence the presence of these horns on the seedbed curses. Now, the colour of these powers is fairly unique, and it shares a similar hue with the Death Hex magics, with a black core, only it has a golden brown glow to it, rather than the white blue of death. The black core of it does suggest a connection to the element of death, which makes sense if we consider that the omen may be soulless. And there is certainly more to suggest a connection here. When you enter Godwin's dream, you see a unique skybox that is not seen anywhere else, that is obviously meant to reflect the lifeless curse eating away at the inside of him, the life within death within him. However, there is somewhere else we see a similar skybox. This is in the Age of Despair ending, the Curse ending. Perhaps this is just a reuse of assets, and I am looking closely into this. However, it could be a reflection of the similarities between these two states of being. Beings are unable to die properly and return to the Erd Tree. It's just speculation. The connection's up to you to decide. What is more interesting, however, is that the colour of the orange flame colour to the powers used, these colours and the revenants. It's the same colour as their portals. That both the wraith callers and revenants spawn from. The wraith callers are the hunched over beings who ring the bells that fire cursed projectiles at us. And their bell, the wraith caller bell, reads the following. Bell used by worshippers of revenants. Wraiths are said to be the vengeful spirits of those who died when cursed. Interesting, isn't it? We've talked about beings that die when they're cursed, and that they are disconnected from the Erd Tree, that their souls are prevented from returning to the Erd Tree. And these brown-black projectiles summoned by the Wraith Callers seem to be wraiths, the spirits of those who have died cursed and are unable to move on, and are now manipulated by these Wraith Callers. These same powers produced by the Wraith Caller bells that are fired at us, as well as the effect when revenants are summoned, are the same powers produced by the bears. These are also described as projectiles as wraiths, and when you use the Spirit Caller bell to summon these wraiths, it is the same black-brown projectiles that the Omen uses. The powers that the Omen themselves tap into, similar to these wraith bells, lost cursed souls. They somehow have a connection and are able to manipulate cursed souls. The Royal Revenants, the most annoying enemies in the game, are also described as cursed by their associated note. Allowing me to speculate on how their crafted work came to be, it is clear that the Royal Revenants are cursed, soulless beings. And it is fascinating to tie the Wraith Callers, the Revenants, and the Omen together by the colour of the magic associated with them, but also with the term cursed. So I do think it's clear that the Omen and those cursed exist in a state of unrest, souls unreturned to the Erd Tree are denied a proper afterlife. Yeah. This horrible state of cursed life is no doubt what awaits those who meet the young. And perhaps it is this intrinsic link between the Omen and the cursed spirits that allow them to tap in and summon these cursed wraiths. Perhaps they are able to call on these souls that have been touched and unleash them in an aggressive fashion.
Shop everyday low prices on a huge selection of home furnishings at Living Spaces, where you'll also discover clearance deals that
Unleash them in an aggressive fashion. Roderica senses a maelstrom of restless spirits surrounding the Dung Eater. Perhaps the Omen too are connected in a way to those that are cursed, that they are all connected together somehow. Indeed, we do get an inkling that the Omen are in fact haunted by these restless, cursed spirits. The Omen smirk mask reads the following. Bears the smirking face of an elder, twisted in wicked delight. This visage is carved in the image of the evil spirits that haunt the Omen in their nightmares. Indeed, whenever we see Omen sleeping, we do see that it is a fitless, restless sleep. And I have long pondered what the spirits mentioned in the Omen smirk mask are. But having now realised the connection of the spirits to the wraiths of the Wraith Callers, and the dialogues of Roderica describing a maelstrom of restless souls, I believe that the spirits that haunt the Omen are very much the same as the spirits of those who died when cursed, these wraiths, that can be manipulated as the brown-black energy via the Omen themselves. I would suggest that the Omen, being cursed beings, are connected to these cursed spirits. There is an intrinsic link. That is why they are able to manipulate their powers, but it is also why they are haunted by these same spirits. I have always found it interesting that when we fight the Omen duo on the outskirts of Leyendell, that we are pulled into an abyss-like arena after reaching the corpse of a Leyendell soldier. Perhaps this is the corpse of a cursed person who died, thus is a sort of trap set up by these Omen duo. They spread the curse to his body on purpose. We are pulled into this trap, into this in-between space, this abyss, where the cursed live. We are, of course, very dangerously.
A capable frenzy does not work.
But I do believe that the Omen's intrinsic link to this cursed realm could be the explanation for this abyss arena. The curse of the Omen is real. It is a state of soullessness, and we learn this via the Dung Eater, who seeks to recreate the curse by disconnecting people and their souls from the Erd Tree. The cursed are those that are restless, denied a final death, and the cursed will never rest, and they are angry and vengeful. They can either be used as weapons by the Omen, who can redirect the ire of their cursed brethren towards their enemies, or they will haunt the Omen themselves, angry that they are commanded. One needs only look at the Revenants to see that a cursed existence is one that does not bear thinking about. Remind the poor spirits that follow the horrendous Dung Eater around like a maelstrom, tied to this monstrous murderer, denied proper state. Was pretty terrifying. I had long assumed that the treatment of the Omen was mainly born of prejudice of the Omen. It certainly will still play a role. There is a real danger and threat to their curse. No one wants to be soulless. No one wants to end up like a royal Revenant. Props to Hawkshaw for stimulating the discussion on the Omen and making them assess their position and their curse itself. Of course, they answer the question. Now understand that being cursed is having your soul taken, being denied returning to the Erd Tree, that you exist in an in-between state as an angry spirit, denied a true death. How? And what has it got to do with the Crucible? Well, I would like to suggest a pretty simple answer. Is well, touched by the Crucible. Some people aren't connected to the Erd Tree. In an era where the Erd Tree is the nexus of life and death, people find themselves outside this order, connected to a power that is past. It is a very similar position to those who live in death, beings who simply fall outside the current order of the Erd Tree, life cycle of the Erd Tree during death. We are from an era where death was very different. Before death was confined by the Golden Order, there was normal death, and perhaps the only people just don't fit within the Erd Tree ideas of life and death. Like those who live in death, they simply fall between the cracks of the Golden Order's defined logic, unable to die and unable to return to the Erd Tree as they are not connected to it. They are cursed, and thus the Omen state of being is simply having a soul that isn't connected to the systems of the Erd Tree, and this is the process and state of being that the Dung Eater seems to want to recreate artificially by devouring the souls of those he slays, so they too don't return to the Erd Tree, and in a way become Omen, become cursed. And with that said, I now want to talk about the treatment of the Omen at the hand of the Golden Order before finally returning to the Dung Eater and the conclusion of his story. As I have just mentioned, my re-examination of the Omen curse was spurred on by Hawkshaw's excellent video on the perfumers, which they presented a fascinating theory about the curse of the perfumers and the Omen. This theory is generally accurate to key items: perfumer Tricia's ashes and the Omen smirch.
Uh-oh. Who is this? Creepiness.
Theory, but it is one that I found extremely. At least one perfumer who was trying to isolate instead illustrates what Hawkshaw suggests that perhaps the knowledge about spirits that haunt the described by the old Swift has was discovered as part as a symptom in discussion with communication. First, how else would he have managed to craft the old Swift mask?
Oh shit.
So actually quite fun.
Speaking out about this all right. This is called Alpine Ice. This has been used a couple of times. This ice has been absolutely phenomenal. It's so fast, they can't believe it. My mother-in-law gave it a try. Check this out. That's her. Now she lost so much that she can fit into her favorite dress. Thanks to the ice. She saw on the news all right. So if you want to start losing weight, you also might want to do this. 5-second ice quiz before you go to bed tonight. Now the best medical advisor for 2 prominent weight loss brands. Classified information. This doctor's research uncovered an unusual ice quiz not only helps to regulate your metabolism, but also reduces food cravings and naturally melts away fat. This by triggering the ancient calorie burning switch that slow metabolism. As this switch is activated, it accelerates your metabolism to the point where excess weight while you
A killer who takes the Shaw even suggests that some people apron massive flavors is akin to after a labor. This also does seem to be successful. That this all gives to me is one of a doctor seeing a disease that cannot be cured inside. Despite how horrific the suggestion pretty solid. Discussed, it would explain how the spirits.
Whoa. He's a plug boy.
As we discussed,
Like a whole universe. Oh, I never spent my fucking souls. Oh shit.
But eventually it was determined that this was not just a illness, it was in fact a
Why'd I do that?
question was debated. As the opening part actually dangerous as we will learn throughout this video. No one wants to die soulless. No one wants to become cursed. And so those who had the stomach twisted, acting in great slaughter, seeing it as the only permanent and true solution to this condition. It seems that the establishment took a guess direct. Either powers. It was a good outcome for the establishment. Lucky enough to choose the short so it's being charmed to the second method. So that once the omen were used to he would discover himself.
Wow. I lost all them souls. They're not even on the board. Whatever.
To hide the hypocrisy of the family, that their two
Easy come, easy go.
to the same brutal treatment of regular, that they got special treatment and were allowed to live. Ultimately, while this might assuage the guilt of the family, it was not the family. It was not the comfort of to live in sewers like beasts, where no one extra care was paid. I think it is certainly happened in the age of the Erdtree, the scale not in feather talisman. Nice back of
Roar.
and if my theory about the persuading friends truly so big, I've been thinking back an era where death was not yet confined. Indeed, Godfrey's reverential
Best spear ashes.
Sure, but it has to be here. What? My legs don't work. Oh, here it works then. Cool. What do you like? Wolves. Oh, anything else? No, just wolves. I think I'm gonna go now. All right, see you later. Ladies, gentlemen, and tarnish of all ladies, when it comes to this game, there are various ways to change your experience while playing and maximize the effectiveness of your character. Of course, most of these lay within yourself, your attributes, spells, weapons, and all that jazz, but if you want to truly make the most of the mechanics available to you in Elden Ring, there is one type of tool that you absolutely cannot sleep on. Spirit ashes, spirit summons, whatever you want to call them, the buddies that you can bring in from the afterlife to help you beat your enemies to the afterlife with them. Some more hardcore players will call these things cheating, in a way, saying that you don't deserve to win if you win with a spirit summon, but I say that's bullshit. If you want to avoid them, that's your choice. You don't have to use them, but they are a part of the game, and if you are playing the game, it is worth knowing how to make the most of them. So, today I'm bringing you a tier list comparing some of the best spirit ashes available in Elden Ring. I won't be talking about any that are straight up bad, so keep in mind that even though I have divided these into tiers, every single one that is on this list already is at least good and can be worth using at different stages in the game. Some are great early, some are just great for specific niche situations, but every one I will be talking about is a high tier spirit ash within Elden Ring. It's worth mentioning from this point on, no matter how I rank them as a whole, their actual effectiveness in-game will depend on your own build and playstyle as well. If you're a big tanky character, then a big tanky spirit summon just won't be as good for you. But if you're a ranged spellcaster, then having a tanky summon can just free you up to do all the damage in the world. I'm trying to rank their general strength, but make sure that you tailor your own experience as required. Without further ado then, let's talk about the Soul Jar of Fortune Ashes, which I put on the team here. Okay, I know I said none of them were bad, but this one is, well, bad. I love them so much that I had to talk about them when I'm talking about Spirit Ashes at all. They can do decent damage, but they just sort of run in and then explode and then they're gone. The explosion can hit you, player if you're too close. It's just really funny, and I love these little guys. On to more serious entries then, though, we have the Lone Wolf Ashes in the B tier. This, conversely to its name, summons a pack of wolves. This is a fantastic early game summon that you get when you first get it. It takes aggro, it deals decent damage. Its only real weakness early on is AoE attacks, which wipe out the whole pack in one go. After that, we have the Spirit Jellyfish Ashes, also in the B tier. This summons a little jellyfish friend to fight alongside you. He applies poison to your enemies, which is a great status to be able to do. You can unlock it really early in a playthrough, which is great, and this summon even has a cute little story moment later on in the game unique to itself. After that comes the Warhawk Ashes, also on the B tier. This one is a pretty good ranged companion. It flies in for hit-and-run attacks from out of range of melee enemies. It moves fast, deals decent damage. Its only real downside is that it has pretty low HP, and that there are simply slightly better summons that do similar things. Once again, it's a great early game buddy to have around, though. Then comes the Great Shield Soldier Ashes, starting off our A tier today. And these could easily be moved up a tier depending on how your build is and your opponent that you're against. This is just a group of 5 immovable tanky walls, essentially. They hold aggro incredibly well, both against groups of enemies and against bosses. They don't really do damage, but they do free you up to do as much damage as you please, especially if you are a longer range build. Their main weakness is AoE attacks that hurt multiple enemies at a time, or big enemies that just do a giant tail swipe, taking out the whole area. But aside from that, they are just incredibly solid and tanky. Operation Human Shield! After that, we have the Demi-Human Ashes, also in the A tier. These guys are a great little group of wandering powerhouses. They have varied weapons and sizes, essentially just a whole party of adventurers from small, fast and damaging up to a big tanky one with a base. And their special perk is, if you summon them at night, they're actually a noticeable amount stronger, though they also go sort of batshit crazy and just attack everything in sight, too. Like the last ones, they are countered heavily by AoE attacks, but otherwise they are great at holding their own in the fight. Then comes Dolores the Sleeping Arrow Puppet, continuing our A tier. This one is a long-range utility minion, and it fills that utility incredibly well, firing off sleep arrows just non-stop. When you put an enemy to sleep, you get a free critical hit on them, so if you're using a high weapon damage build, this summon just gives you loads of free opportunities for massive damage. Next up is the Crystallian Spirit Ashes, again in the A tier. If you have fought these enemies in the game, then you already know what I'm going to say, because the summoned version functions the same way. They are nearly immune to all damage types that aren't strike, and so whenever you summon the spirit to fight a boss that does anything other than strike damage, it will just be insanely tanky. It also draws aggro well, so again, this is just a nice tanky one for specific situations. After that, we have Rutel the Headless, again on the A tier. This one does decent damage, but more notably is a great tank and good at drawing aggro. And its specific extra benefit is that it can sort of teleport around the place occasionally. This does make it lose aggro when it happens, but it also lets it avoid larger area of effect attacks like lava left on the floor, or anything like that, making it much more survivable than some of the other spirits. Then finishing off our A tier, we have Omen Killer Rollo, who is just incredibly solid all around. Decently high health and good at keeping aggro from enemies. He applies the Bleed Status, which, as you all know, is just great, and he attacks quickly with high damage attacks that can flinch lock smaller enemies as well. He's just plain good. Then starting off our S tier today, we have Lieutenant the Albinauric. This summon will simply stay in the exact spot where you summon it with a powerful bow and snipe your target from a distance for loads of damage. She has pretty low health, so if she does take the aggro from you, then she won't be around very long. Because she doesn't move, you can sort of just set her up in a safe place to snipe from a distance, and then keep a boss busy far away while she pelts it with arrows. As well, if you do happen to summon her near a direwolf enemy, she will tame and ride it, which does give her the ability to move stronger as a result, though there aren't many direwolves around in important areas at least, so this is quite a niche bonus. Next up then comes Clean Rot Knight Finley in the S tier. This is one of the few summons in the game that can apply Scarlet Rock to your enemies, just a ton of ticking damage over time to take advantage of. Aside from that, he just has good damage in general with ranged and melee attacks mixed together. No real complaints about this one. That is Stormhawk Dean, again in the S tier, who is actually quite strong. This one will fly around at a safe distance, sometimes engaging in front attacks like the Warhawk that I mentioned earlier. Sometimes it even does ranged attacks instead that will let it stay even safer. And most importantly, it also has a Warcry effect it will do occasionally, which buffs all of your weapon damage itself by about 20%, stacking with your other buffs. So if you're a melee weapon user who isn't looking for your summon to take the aggro away from you, this one just gives you more damage as a whole. Banished Knight Oleg in the S tier. He is relatively tanky, he attacks quite quickly, and draws aggro too. He also does a surprisingly good amount of damage, and there just isn't anything really overall unique about him other than that. He's just very good at what he does.
Honestly, I'm great at everything.
After that, in the S tier, we have the Ancestral Follower Ashes. This one is another one that is quite generally good. It has a bow that it can fire off range attacks with that are pretty potent. If an enemy wanders too close, it can also whip out an axe for close range combat. And it is also especially good when fighting groups of enemies as it heals every single time that it kills something, giving it quite a good bit of longevity if you use it for clearing out areas. Next up in the S tier is Redmane Knight Oka. This summon uses a gravity-charged great bow, sort of like Radon, which does loads of damage from a distance, and if an enemy gets close, it will take out a sword that it uses with the Lion's Claw Ash of War, which, well, if you've seen it on players, you know is exceptionally strong. The trick with this one, too, is if you use the Ash of War, or any of the equivalent ones with this one summoned, it will fire out a barrage of arrows as a response, only once per summon, but cool and useful nonetheless. Then we move up to the final tier today, the S+ tier, and we'll start this off with the Mimic tier, Summon. You all know about it at this point. It was ungodly strong in the base game, and it has been nerfed multiple times since the release of the game, in multiple different patches, and yet those nerfs have simply brought it down from being the most undisputed best summon possible in the game to being still incredibly good, but on par with some others. The effectiveness of the Mimic tier entirely does depend on your build. It basically is just a clone of you, but with some lower health. And if you're doing something incredibly strong on its own, this will just make you twice as strong. But it does leave a little bit to be desired in some certain cases. For example, if you are a big tank, then summoning a second tank won't necessarily help you a whole lot. If you are a ranged spellcaster, then summoning a second ranged spellcaster will double your damage potential, but you still have to dodge. It's an insanely good summon, but it entirely depends on how you yourself are playing and how you want the fight to go. Second to last then, also in the S+ tier, we have Black Knight Tiche. This is quite a well-known one as well. She is incredibly acrobatic, which allows her to dodge most enemy attacks, so while she isn't tanky per se, she can still survive quite a long time in a fight, and her damage is just insane. She is the Black Knife weapon itself, so she deals health percentage damage whenever she uses the Ash of War, as well as lowering your enemy's max health every time that it happens for a short period of time. This is a summon that gets better and better the stronger that your enemy is, and that is an invaluable asset to have. Then finally today we have the Dung Eater Puppet Summon. You know how I said the Mimic tier was essentially a clone of a player? Well, this might as well be another player as well. It has massive stats all around, it does loads of damage to nearly anything, it has no particularly notable weaknesses, and it is tanky as hell while also grabbing good aggro. It is probably the single best all-rounder summon that there is. Not much unique going on, but incredible at every single thing that it tries to do, and everything that you will ask it to do for you. And that will just about do it, everyone. A tier list of a nice big group of the best Spirit Ash summons available in Elden Ring, up to date for patch 1.06. What do you think about the summons that I chose and where I placed them? Would your personal experiences have them in any other order? Are there any particularly strong ones that you think are worth mentioning that I didn't include on this list? Feel free to let me know in the comments and spread the word to your fellow Tarnished. And of course, let people know what builds you are using that can make them go absolutely nuts as well.
My channel, I do boss guides. How to easily kill Radagon, how to clap your cheeks out of Melania. I see many comments saying, yeah, I use the Mimic tier. Mimic tier, bro, was the best, bro. Well, you know what? I'm sick of it. Mimic tier and Black Knife Tiche are not the only powerful spirit summons. There are many others with their own skills and traits. Plus, it's always fun to try out something new. Therefore, today, I give you 8 spirit summons that are better than the Mimic tier. Well, kind of. These are spirits that excel in certain situations. I'm looking for effectiveness and strength. I'm looking for spirits that can hold their own, and maybe something the Mimic tier may not be able to. Some of these spirits can breathe fire, inflict a rod or poison, use instant transmission. You can even summon up a moving shield wall, for God's sakes. So we will rank our summons from worst to best. The further down the list we go, the summons will get stronger and stronger. I did my best to include some powerful spirits that you may not be using yet. So we have the top 7, plus 1 honorable mention. A very underrated summon that I freaking love. I don't see many people talk about it, so stay tuned for that. Now let's jump right into it, starting with number 7, the Radon Soldier Ashes. The more the merrier when it comes to spirit summons, and here we have 2 of Radon's best military men at your service. They don't waste any time and immediately start whacking dudes with their lightsabers. I know they aren't that strong compared to the other summons on this list, but when it comes to fighting a boss who is weak to fire damage, they really shine. That is their specialty. Moving forward, in 6th place, we have my guy, the battle mage Hoojuice. I don't know. So obviously he's a beast with magic damage. His strength is in ranged attacks, casting a variety of spells, so he's a great support. But even in close combat, he whips out a magic hammer and smashes enemies. Against a boss who is weak to magic type damage, battle mage Hoojuice is your guy. Number 5. The Mausoleum Soldier Ashes. Man, I love these dudes. Individually, they're not all that special. But the fact that you can summon up 6 of them, 6 beautiful soldiers with shields and swords and axes that swarm your enemy and deal tons of damage. Even by themselves, they can almost kill a boss. So if you have them as support in a real battle, it'll be just you and your crew gangbanging your enemy. It's an all-out brawl with these dudes. Obviously not the best at range, but they excel at close combat against a small to medium-sized boss. Now number 4, the Redmane Knight, a well-rounded warrior, extremely strong at ranged and lethal in close melee combat. He deals heavy damage with his huge gravity bow and heavy greatsword. Plus, he's got a shield. He actually uses it to block attacks. So he has a solid defense, strong melee attack, and can whip out a bow for long range. So yeah, very versatile summon. I like spirits that get right to work like this guy does. Don't wait around, just staring at the floor. Before we number 3, we have our honorable mention. This guy is awesome, man. Like, he's always fun to summon up. The Omen Killer Rolo. I swear he's underrated. No one talks about him, but they should. He's got these 2 giant spiked clubs, and not only do they inflict blood blows, but they hit hard, man. They straight clobber enemies. Very effective against anything that staggers or is weak to poison. He's fire, like a dragon. He's my go-to summon when fighting the Lania. Look at him, man. He squashed them. Now let's move on to the top 3 summons on our list. Third is Latenna the Abominarial Killer. These large-scale boss fights, Latenna is the perfect support. She excels at ranged with her bow with almost perfect accuracy, dealing constant damage from a distance while you fight. To be honest, it's debatable if Redmane Knight is better than Latenna because the Redmane Knight has a good ranged attack plus strong close combat skills, but the Redmane Knight will sometimes miss the target, while Latenna is simply so accurate and can deal so much damage from a distance. She's definitely the best ranged spirit summon there is. Reliable and consistent. In 2nd place, we actually have my personal favorite spirit ash, Crystallian Crystal Guy. I freaking love this dude. Or, I don't know what the hell it is, but this thing is almost invincible in most situations. If you ever fought one before, you know they really don't take damage from anything other than blunt-type weapon attacks. I just want my summon to take some aggro, watch my back, and distract the enemy. That's the main purpose of a spirit summon for me, and this thing does exactly that. It's the perfect bodyguard. He's Robin, and I am Batman. Only reason it doesn't take the first place spot is because it doesn't deal a ton of damage at all, really. It's mostly for defense, support, and taking aggro. Finally, the point we've all been waiting for. My number 1 spirit summon, better than the Mimic Deer. First place, Lutel the Headless. Oh, what a surprise, right? No, not really. She's the model Spirit Ash, the A1 sauce of summons. Between her heavy armor, great shield, and her ability to use instant transmission, she has a very strong defense and stays alive for a while. She can toss a spear at medium range, and of course, does high damage in close combat. In group fights, and when against a small to medium-sized boss, Lutel the Headless can't go wrong. Let us all know in the comment section down below.
I want to find that Darth Maul looking sword.
Yo, what's going on, guys?
Elden
Alex,
Elden,
welcome back to
I
another
see.
video for Elden
Ring, and in this one I want to give a quick guide on where to get the awesome Eleonora's pole blade, which is, let's be honest, basically Darth Maul's double-sided lightsaber. This thing is incredibly awesome. Not only does it look badass, but it is also very powerful and has the unique skill Bloodblade Dance, where you leap at a foe to perform a flurry of tornado-like attacks, which looks hella cool. And you can then follow up with an additional input to perform an attack that ends with an evasive maneuver. So it's very quick, very fast, and very powerful, and also causes blood loss build-up, which is also nice for meaty damage. So if you guys would like to get this, then let's go over the details. If you do enjoy this, do find it helpful, a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below, let me know what you guys think of this weapon, and do be sure to keep it locked if you guys are enjoying Elden Ring. Now, in order to get this one, it does involve going through a short quest chain. This begins at the Aegir Lake South site of Grace. From here, what you then want to do is go over towards this structure you see here. Now, it is worth noting, depending on the stuff that you have done in the game, the NPC might not be here, but what you want to do is go over to this camp location, and if you have done basically nothing, there will be an NPC here called Yura, who has a little sort of pointy hat, and he will basically tell you about one of the bloody things. Now, in order to get this one, it does involve going through a short quest chain. This begins at the Aegir Lake South site of Grace. From here, what you then want to do is go over towards this structure you see here. Now, it is worth noting, depending on the stuff that you have done in the game, the NPC might not be here, but what you want to do is go over to this camp location, and if you have done basically nothing, there will be an NPC here called Yura, who has a little sort of pointy hat, and he will basically tell you about one of the bloody fingers. Now, if you guys already saw our video on some of the weapons you should get, and you have gone and got the Reduvia Bloodblade, then you'll know that if you go north from this location, up the sort of Murkwater River, you'll be invaded by Bloody Finger Neregus, and of course when you kill him, he will then give you the Reduvia Bloodblade Dagger. Now do not fear, if you have already killed him, it does not mess things up, it simply means you can skip a step of the quest. But, assuming you have not done that, then from this location, you go up here to the river, you run up, you see this spawn, kill the invader, and you can then begin the next stage. From there, you then want to go north and go a little bit further up the river, between the rocks, and if you jump off, you will then see over the right hand side is Yura for the next stage of the quest. You speak to him, he will then tell you a few things, and we then need to go further north, and this time we are going into Liurnia. Now, it is worth noting, in order to do this, you will need to be able to have access to the Raya Lucaria Academy, so if you do not have the Glintstone key, you then want to go to this location on the map that you see right now. There is, of course, a dragon there. You do not need to fight it. You simply need to run behind it, and you will then find a purple collectible, which is the Academy Glintstone key. Work your way up to the academy. There's a couple of different ways to get there, but of course if you have not gone there before, you can simply go from this location, run up past all the enemies, bypass absolutely everything, and of course run towards that gate, and now you have the key, you can interact with it, and you can walk through into the academy. Once you've done that, what you don't want to do is there will be a site of Grace in front, you might as well grab that. You then want to turn right, and you do not want to interact with this door because that will take you to a different location. Instead, you want to walk past that, go towards the end of the bridge, and there will be a red summon sign. You interact with this, and this will then ask if you want to be summoned to assist Yura, Hunter of the Bloody Fingers. In doing so, you'll then be teleported, and you'll then see he is doing battle. You need to go and assist him and take down the Bloody Finger that, of course, he is fighting. Once you've taken that one down, you will then be teleported back to the regular area, and you can then turn around the bridge, and you can speak to him. You will also get an Ash of War, the Rapture of the Mists, which does sound hella cool, but for the purpose of this video, that is not important. So you then want to speak to him, he will then thank you, he'll give you a smithing stone, which is quite nice, smithing stone number 5, and you are then on to the final stage of the quest. At this point, you will then need to go north to the third area. Now do keep in mind, in order to progress this area, you will either need to have defeated the second boss and activated the Grand Lift of Dectus, which if you guys have not done, you can check out the video we uploaded just before this one. I will link it at the end of this video, which teaches you where to find the medallions needed to activate that lift. Alternatively, if you don't want to, you can run up the lake to the north and go through this cave. Of course, in doing so, you will also need to fight a pretty tough boss. So, you can pick and choose. If you don't want to fight the story boss, you can go this route. That's also kind of challenging. Regardless, you need to be able to get to the third area, the Atlas Plateau. Once you're here, you then need to go to the second Church of Marika, located over here. And when you go there, you will see Yura in a kind of a predicament on the floor. He's a bit dead. But after that, you can interact with this body, you will get the Nagakiba Katana, and then if you wander around the church, you will then be invaded by the Violet Bloody Finger, Eleonora. She is wielding the weapon that we are after. So, surprise, surprise, you need to defeat her, and then when you defeat her, you get the weapon. And that, my friends, is how you do it. It is a little bit challenging, she's pretty quick, she does a good job of showing why this weapon is so awesome, but grab that, and you now have yourself a badass Darth Maul looking twin blade, which which is really nice. It has a requirement of 12 strength, 21 dex, and 19 arcane, and of course scales predominantly in dex and arcane. So, pretty good weapon if you like that playstyle. Anyway, that's it. Quick guide on how to find this one. Hope you guys found that helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and click this video if you want to know how to activate that lid of Dectus.
You love getting high, but smoking hurts your lungs? I've got you covered. You need to try these Delta 9 gummies from Boo. I always get my products from Boo because they carry the highest quality lab test.
Johnny Wolf on Twitter. He does all my cool art. The silencing effect is really good for enemies and parts of the game you just don't want to fool with. Aggro, like the Albinoric archers in the Morgina Everjail. Or can change the animation of some heavy attacks on axes, making it more powerful or it also stacks with the Axe Talisman and the Spiked Cracked tier for massive damage. Use Barrage with status inflicting ammo like St. Trina's, Rock Bones, or Super Flame Arrows to throw status effects. The uptime of the seal has dropped a little bit. Otherwise, attacks like Melania's Waterfowl. If your Dragonborn cosplay is lacking, you can focus on more getting to Infinity Weapon. Have the Sash of War to damage. You can cancel the final slam attack by dodging at the last second if damage. Bloodblade needs a small amount of HP upon use, so it's most efficient compared to Taker's cameo. If you're recharging HP with the last one as a blade, Green Dagger, and you can probably equip 9 with no arms capable of thrusting swords. Any weapon that has a thrust attack, you can focus on great sword. Generous FP consumption. Danger, like immediate injury, which trivializes the use water gestures and it's probably to reliably escape if she winds it up. Bloody Slash is extra efficient with katanas and other weapons that come with weapons. It can ravage your HP if you aren't careful. Especially if the enemies are guesses. Ragnarok's reward should be as a weapon buff, as it can be stacked with other character buffs like Blood Portal and provide any weaknesses or other weapons. This can be paired with both Godfrey Icon and the Shard of Alexander since its own weapon skill. Retaliation spell has its own applications, but replace the Ash of War. It actually gives your pair much more active frames than what a regular which makes it especially good on medium shoots. That Godfrey Icon because of the distance of the charge without giving it extra damage. It does, however, synergize with Rock Winged Sword. You can also create or guide it with the animation pretty easily. Rock's Frostbite on the dragons in Northeast Caelid almost instantly. Put it on a katana, and the frost buff afterwards will enable both frost and bleed damage in a single swing.
Okay, so this sucks, but this is fucking great. This sword, the Blasphemous Blade. We better look like the most Scarlet Rot Paladin ever. Let's see.
Generous FP consumption. It's still a 60% damage increase for your very next attack, so it's no joke when you use it early game. It really shines on strength builds and can be paired with the Claw Talisman to make your jumping heavies even better. Double Slash is, in fact,
that's pretty crazy looking.
In total, it has 2 follow-up attacks. Put this on a katana and spice it up with Bloodflame Blade, and voila! Rivers of blood at home. Earthshaker has many similarities to Waves of Darkness in its attack animation, but its main advantage is the follow-up R2 that actually has a functioning fucking hitbox. Use the first hit to break the guard of a great
let's
shield,
see.
leaving them open to receive the full damage of the follow-up.
This is huge.
On a horn bow and use dwelling arrows for bonus damage.
It's got crazy horns and shit on it too, though.
This was the ash that showed me the chariots and the heroes' brains.
This is the Paladin armor right here. Then you look like a true crazy ass Paladin. But that's not what we're going for at this point. Plus it's too heavy. So this guy's got a pretty sick looking set. What about just straight up horns? There we go. I am a demon. That's pretty crazy looking. Okay, so we don't need this, and this should make you fly this little armor here. I like this better though.
Video how much I love fouling spells due to their stopping power versus faster enemies and bosses, but the skill variant allows you to chain this into
Maybe not.
skill, which only makes the stance break
Let's see. What's this one look like?
The pebble part of the skill is very capable of staggering even more
Stupid.
setting them up for the following thrust. Shielded enemies leave themselves open to magic damage, and the thrust part of the skill
no.
So just because you see a knight shielding doesn't mean you won't take damage from it. This skill honestly has so much going on with it that it can be used for anything. The initial
that's pretty cool.
Damage, break stances and whatnot, and the darts that spawn
that matches well.
Enemy dodges and can even proc on-hit status effects given to the original weapon.
No.
If you cast Blood Flame Blade and then use the skill, the darts will build up blood loss on whatever it is. What the shit? I really like putting parry skills on medium shields because they receive a huge amount of active frames during the actual parry, while keeping the often superior damage absorption that medium shields give you. It's also extremely easy to parry thrust attacks because this skill gives your parry a slight range boost. You can parry your own spells with this. I'm not kidding. You can parry Discus of Light on its way back to you and launch a projectile, effectively giving you a 3-hit only damage combo in one spell. Great hyper armor and the poise damage make short work of any Crystallians you run into. The skill variant isn't much compared to its big brother Incantation, but it can be picked up very
I think we're gonna go with this because it gives us strength.
It's not held back by a high faith requirement, meaning you can use this as a great substitute for the early game. You can cast offensive spells with
that looks cool. We're doing this. Now I'm a pokey looking demon with something called the Blasphemous Blade. I can summon holy energy from hell.
Insane frostbite buildup and the nice thing that the boss gets a great option obviously uses bosses but once it's done casting it.
Wow. It's fucking her up though. What's it look like without these wings? Like, I know the wings are part of, like, the look this, but they look like shit. They look like two big demon hands trying to grab my butt. Insufficient runes. Please on these. I don't care. I need a couple of these.
Attack bonus for counterattacks. Put this skill on daggers with high critical modifiers like the Misericord and kick the shit out of things until their stance breaks. Lifesteal Fist heals for 30% of your max HP while only using up 14 FP, which is one of the best trades I think you can possibly take. If you're exploring sewers or
that looks awful without the wings. I lied. We're gonna go back. We're gonna alter the garments once more. It needs that. It does. Oh, that's kind of cool.
But it still has that lightning AoE effect if you're standing in water, scoring a direct hit on an unaware enemy, and you get 3 damage bursts in one. Use to close distance immediately after a long-range enemy attacks you. If you're having trouble getting this to hit, either stuff up to a clump of enemies and attack them there, or try and free aim the second hit slightly to the right, and chances are you'll find your hits connecting with smaller enemies much more often. Against horseback enemies, Mighty Shot stops the whole enemy, including the horse, in their tracks. The base parry isn't too exciting, but the buckler parry has way more active frames, so I would suggest just using that one. You can sometimes sit past your target if you use this while too close. If you sprint to the side while locked on, you can still send the Phantom forward towards your target while the momentum of the attack carries you in the direction you're sprinting, potentially evading another attack. This can be put on pole arms to further increase the range of the attack. Also,
Mama,
useful when
I
the
just got back from
gains
seeing
over
her.
tight spaces where weapon attacks
Mama, I told you a bunch of times. Hold on. Okay, I am back. So let's see. We don't need that. Boost poise. Enhance charged
Why
attacks.
is the camera so close to me? Okay, can I like fix this?
We're gonna do that
I
one.
promise we're gonna get right into the video as soon as I'm done with this bit. This is important. I'm gonna have to use no clip for this. Like, there's no other way to do it. Why is okay? Thanks for the close up. Yeah, I can see inside of my body. Now I just need to figure out how to get the camera to. No, I didn't do that. Okay, why did you stand back up? Sit back down. Come on. I can't sit down with no clip on. I can't do gestures with no. She just keeps standing back up. Come on, work with me, Jesus.
Let's
Yeah,
just say,
I'm so glad I spent.
could this be a giant butthole?
5 minutes of B-roll on my PC of me
Possibly.
trying and failing
This
to
guy's
do
onto
this bit.
something.
That is
All right.
funny. I just want to sit in the throne.
Okay, so let's see. So I can't get Elon's pole blade. I can't get Elon's Darth Maul weapon yet. It'll be next playthrough. But let's see if I can finish Millicent's quest line.
Millicent is an NPC in Elden Ring and has an important questline involving Gowry and Millennia, all of which will be covered in this video. As usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. We can start the quest by finding Gowry at his shack in Caelid. It's just south from the channel Site of Grace. From there, you'll need to roll through some Scarlet Rot to reach the drainage channel Site of Grace. Speak through all of Millicent's dialogue in the prayer room, then continue on. Make your way past the enemy turret encampment to reach the Elphiel Inner Wall Site of Grace. From there, you'll need to roll through some Scarlet Rot to reach the drainage channel Site of Grace.
I gotta pee already again. I just went pee.
From this Site of Grace, you can head back out the west exit and climb the ladder. Make your way across some tree branches to reach a small island with a pit full of Scarlet Rot. The legendary Great Grave Glovewort sits in the pit, and trying to reach it will cause a Scarlet Rot variant of Ulcerated Tree Spirit to emerge. From this site of grace, you can head back out the west exit and climb the ladder. Make your way across some tree branches to reach a small island with a pit full of scarlet rot. Legendary Great Grave Glovewort sits in the pit, and trying to reach it will cause a scarlet rot variant of ulcerated tree spirit to emerge. Defeat the tree spirit to progress Millicent's quest with 2 summoning signs.
Oops. I have to pee. Okay, so let's take it a little more seriously. I think I got the thing. Okay, wait, no. He said go this way, that's right. So we're gonna go up the branch, and we're gonna kill this tree spirit. My cat barged in the room. Hi, Max. What's going on, Bubba? Meow. He said, support my stream. He wants better cat treats. His words, not mine. See? You can hear him right now. Meow, meow, meow. Oh, shit. Am I in a hole? I fucked up. Whoa, Max. Whoa, Max. Inventory. Max. You're a cute cat. But jeez. I'm playing the game. I'm playing the game, Max. Okay, so we gotta go this way. Oh. Yeah. Thought so. Max! 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 Oh, I pissed him off. Max! He wanted to cuddle. These pink butterflies are nice. Look at how nice they are. Oh, shit. What the Fuck. Wow. So I just fell off this stupid cliff again. I swear to God, sometimes the map design is more challenging than the game itself. Or maybe I'm just challenged myself. Yeah, it's probably that's the case. I'm just a little challenged. Okay, so for the 10th time, we just run up here. This guy's just gonna die because I don't want to deal with him. Alright. Now, if I don't accidentally walk off a cliff this time, I will do a fantastic job here. Get out of this. Oh my God, I did it again. Why is there no space there? Panic rolling my way to death. Okay, so I don't do a lot of fucking damage to that thing. It's gonna take many hits. I think the bleed is still better, but I was able to cheese some bosses pretty fucking good with this. Look how well it does. That's a very good Ash of War that this comes with. So it's really hard to go back to the bleed. And in fact, I don't even think I need that much faith, but I don't know. I don't know. Oh, this big motherfucker is scaring me. Oh my God, I fell off the cliff again. This is the worst arena. Wow. I'd like to actually fight it. I think I need more health. And then I'll be less scared. So this guy is easy enough up here. I don't know why my target lock isn't working. Okay, so we're going to try really hard not to fall off the cliff again. Wow. So I have to beat that guy to progress this quest line. That's insane. Create a summon sign. Creates a summon, send a hostile, send a co-op, summon pool. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Let's see how he does.
Nearby. We're not at the end of Millicent's questline quite yet, however, this is the important decision-making moment of it. The gold summoning sign will have you aid Millicent in combat against 4 of her sisters. The red summoning sign will have you challenge/betray Millicent instead. Successfully aiding Millicent will reward you with the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia Talisman, which greatly boosts the damage of successive attacks. On top of that, you'll later be able to get Miquella's Needle and a Somber Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. After aiding Millicent, you can speak with her for some final dialogue. Then reload the area and return to her to retrieve the unalloyed gold needle. As a side note, be careful not to jump or fall on her, as doing so will kill her and prevent any further interaction. Fortunately, you will still get the unalloyed gold needle even if you do that by accident. On the other hand, successfully betraying and defeating Millicent will reward you with the Millicent's Prosthesis Talisman, which raises dexterity by 5 and boosts the damage of successive attacks, although to a lesser extent than the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia. As far as I can tell, you will not be able to get Miquella's Needle nor the legendary Somber Smithing Stone if
I don't
you betray
know
Millicent.
how I'm going to kill it.
When you return to this area after choosing the Betrayal path, Millicent will have bloomed into a scarlet flower. At this point, if you betrayed Millicent, you can go back to Gowry's shack to finish up his storyline. Gowry will be dead when you arrive, and you can pick up the Phlox Canvas Talisman along with Gowry's Bell Bearing. The talisman greatly boosts the potency of incantations. You can also get these items if you chose to aid Millicent, but you'll want to wait until after defeating Malenia. And that's basically the end of Millicent's questline for those that choose the path of betrayal. Alternatively, if you aided Millicent and thus got the unalloyed gold needle, you can make use of it after defeating Malenia in the roots of the Hallowed Tree. And I'm not sure how much help I can offer on how to defeat Malenia. I was able to defeat her on New Game Plus after a few tries using an Arcane/Dex build with the Rivers of Blood Katana and a Mimic tier summons.
So I'm really tired of these like gimmicks.
I'll leave links near the bottom of the video description for any guides I have on where to get items from my build. The Rivers of Blood Katana did a pretty good job at stunning up Malenia, preventing her from getting off that deadly waterfowl dance attack. I'll also admit that it took a little bit of luck to get through that first phase. The second phase, on the other hand, was actually fairly manageable once I got the timing down on her attacks. Once you've defeated Malenia, you can use the unalloyed gold needle at the flower that she leaves behind to receive Miquella's Needle and a Somber
That
Ancient
scales
Dragon
with
Smithing Stone.
strength.
You can also return to Gowry and find him in a state of despair, eventually just repeating the same few
And I need
words
to hit
over and over.
things super
Strike him
fucking
down
hard.
at that point to get the Phlox Canvas Talisman along with his Bell Bearing.
Or
I'm
just
not
cause
sure if doing
bleed
so will
buildup
have
really good.
consequences in future updates to the game, so do it at your own discretion. That being said, definitely make sure to do it and pick up this talisman before moving on to New Game Plus. One more thing, if you take in the Flame of Frenzy and want to get out of that ending, you can go to the arena where you fight Dragon
And we
Lord
want
Blessed
good
Dusax and the
poise.
Crumbling Farum Azula, and use Miquella's Needle there. You don't actually have to fight the Dragon Lord to use the needle, you just need to be in the arena. If you're still having issues with this quest, you can reach out in the comments section and I'll do my best to provide a solution. I also recommend checking my pinned comment, as I'll be updating it with helpful information about problems and potential fixes. I'm putting together guides for all of the major quests in Elden Ring. To find those, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day. If you're here today, have a great Monday. And as always, thanks for watching.
So we're done with the faith thing and the intellect thing. Faith, intellect, doo-doo. I'm a melee. I need to be a tank, the likes of which nobody's ever seen again. So that's what we're going to be. So we're going to just pump this to 50.
is now so far above that it might as well be a
We're
false
gonna have
sky.
30
And the
endurance.
world below has life, light, and a culture of its own. What's interesting about the environment down here is that it's actually a fusion of cultures. There are the
We're gonna have
dynastic
50 health.
remains infested with claymen, and then there's the ancestral grounds brimming with wildlife.
Should I do arcane then?
Built amidst it all, between the ruins,
I don't need that
beyond
much
the
arcane.
ancestral grounds, and even hanging from the ceilings, are the incredible eternal cities inhabited by the Nox. For now, think of the Nox as just these enemies, the monks, swordstresses, and night maidens of the eternal cities.
So I think the more strength we have, so we're gonna put this up to 60. And the rest in the arcane. I'm still fat rolling. And I didn't get any dexterity. Oh, I need 6 dexterity. It didn't give me that, so I don't need that.
And if thou ye would... is it thy wish? Now. Thou art now a sweeting, full fine and...
Okay, so now this is my heavy tank mode. It's really weak. I didn't upgrade it yet. Duh. Duh. Hold on. Go to the wall.
Guys, and welcome back to my lore through series. Today, we're gonna head down the crater Radan's death caused in Limgrave to find the hidden treasure of Nokron for Rani. If you end up enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe as I uploaded.
I already got the hidden treasure from Ronnie.
It's very crunchy, very marshmallowy, very chewy. It tastes very.
Raise the threshold to nuclear. As America, the NATO, and European allies send fresh supplies for Ukraine's much-awaited spring offensive, and the war escalates dangerously across land, sea, and air, Moscow has raised its response level to the ultimate dread, a nuclear war. Is Russia preparing to use its nuclear warheads? Kremlin is moving its nuclear warheads. Russian nukes have reached Belarus. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has confirmed the deployment. The movement has already begun, he says. Now, is this the countdown to what we have been fearing all this while? Is the Ukraine war all set to take a nuclear turn? Because it's hard to ignore or water down the developments. For this is the first time since the collapse of the Soviet Union that Russia is deploying nukes outside the country. This move is equal parts significant and scary. Russia, remember, has more nuclear weapons than any other country. We are looking at some 5,977 warheads. Estimates say around 1,500 of these warheads are retired. A little over 2,800 are in reserve, and some 1,500 are deployed in strategic locations. In fact, many of Russia's nuclear weapons range from about 10 to 100 kilotons. There are also many above 100 kilotons. And just to give you a point of reference here, the bomb dropped in Hiroshima had around 0.3 kilotons of explosive force. Russian nukes are over 100 times deadlier. So where are these nukes positioned is the immediate question. It's hard to point it out on a map. What we do know, however, courtesy America's Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, is that Russia has deployed some 812 of its nuclear weapons on land-based ballistic missiles. Around 576 of the nuclear weapons are deployed on submarines. 300 are in heavy bomber bases. Where exactly are these submarines or bases? Well, unless you are a part of the team in charge of Russia's nuclear weapons, you will not know. Now here's what analysts are pointing out. Positioning tactical
chemical weapons in Belarus puts all of Ukraine, Poland, the Baltic states, and parts of Germany within Russia's nuclear range. All of these weapons, however, remains with Russia. You see, Putin is the ultimate decision maker when it comes to Russia's nuclear warheads. He and he alone gets to press the nuclear button. This is the Chegek. It is Russia's nuclear briefcase. It is Mr. President all the time. Putin can send a nuclear launch order to General Staff Command and Reserve Command units via this briefcase. Putin has, in fact, openly said that the Kremlin will use all means to defend itself. What really are the chances that Russia will be using these weapons? The White House says it does not see any such signs.
To say that before, nor any indications Russia is preparing to use nuclear weapons for Belarus.
How true is that? For the past year, numerous nuclear references have been made by both Russia and the US. In October 2022, in fact, US President Joe Biden was attending a Democratic Party fundraiser when he said that the world faces its biggest risk of an Armageddon. What is an Armageddon, you ask? It's a biblical reference to the last battle between good and evil. Basically, it means the end, a nuclear apocalypse. Biden's remarks followed a no-holds-barred statement by Vladimir Putin. Some of you may remember it, let me read it out anyway. When the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, to protect Russia and our people, we will certainly use all the means at our disposal. This is not a bluff. Remember how Biden replied? He said he knows Putin fairly well and that the Russian president was quote-unquote not joking when he talks about the potential use of tactical nuclear weapons. Now, following the deployment of nukes to Belarus, America has sent out a staunch warning to Russia. It said the new use of chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons will be met with quote-unquote severe consequences. Is America preparing for such an event? US has 5,428 nuclear weapons. This is an estimate by ICAN, or International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. And many of America's nukes are stationed abroad in NATO countries. The Netherlands, for example, hosts 20 US nuclear weapons. Turkey, for that matter, hosts Italy, 40. And Belgium hosts anything between 10 to 15 American. Same with Germany, by the way, anything between 10. Is America now planning to adjust nuclear postures? No, says the White House, adding that Russia's move is a quote-unquote example of making irresponsible and provocative choices. In fact, Russia says it is Western provocation that forced this deployment in the first place. Beyond, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.
Stick around and I'll show you how I got a $2.25 million settlement after my car accident. But first, let me tell you how it all happened. Last year, I was rear-ended in a car accident. The other guys in
significant damage if Moscow is able to cut off those sources of information. The US Department of Justice has now launched a probe into the possible leak of intel related to Ukraine, China, and West Asia. The Pentagon on Sunday said that it made a formal referral to the Department of Justice asking it to investigate the apparent leak of documents which have been circulating on various social media sites, including Twitter. The US officials have further said that they are taking the leak seriously and they are working towards a more formal assessment of what is actually in these documents and how they were leaked in the first place. Well, the leaks, they have rattled the Pentagon officials, particularly within the Defense Department's of joint staff, which compromises which comprises, I should say, senior uniformed leadership whose role it is to advise the president. According to the officials, some of the intelligence could have originated from the Five Eyes partner, which is an intelligence alliance comprising of Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom and the United States. But there are also possibilities of the document being leaked by someone who gained access to the US intelligence system. Well, according to the apparent leak, Ukraine's air defences risk running out of missiles and ammunitions within weeks. One of the documents dated the 23rd of February and marked secret to outline in detail how Ukraine's Soviet-era S-300 air defence systems would be depleted by May the 2nd at the current usage stage, which is also being called the rate of burn. Apart from this, the leaked document also reveals how the Kremlin has agreed for peace talks, but has asserted on how it will not accept defeat. Okay, let's get some more details on this. Delighted to be joined by Glenn Diesen from Norway. A warm welcome to a Professor of International Relations at the University of Southeastern Norway. Thank you so much indeed. So, is there a security concern at the Pentagon? What can we read into this?
Well, there's certainly a security breach. It's just uncertain who it was. You mentioned that it could have been allies within the Five Eyes, but some of the documents appear to have been limited to or restricted access to foreign nationals. So there is, of course, also the concern that this is coming, that it's a leak very high up in the U.S. military chain, as these were very highly classified documents. So it could be either pro-Russian elements in the U.S. military, or it could be merely be American military officials who are very critical of this proxy war they're fighting against Russia, as the war position is growing. But again, this will be pure speculation because so far we do not know. But based on the documents, it suggests that there will be there will be someone from the U.S. military.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're speaking about who it is. As you say, we simply don't know. It's speculation at the moment. Now, if this intel is to be believed, how worried should we be about Ukraine's position?
Well, it's quite dramatic because they're running out of air defense system. And that means both the weapon systems as well as the interceptor missiles, because Russia's destroyed many of the S-300, but also Ukraine often has to use a lot of these interceptor missiles because Russia has so many, well, first of all, cheap drones, which makes it a bad trade-off, but also has so many missiles. So there is a shortage, obviously. And this is very problematic for Ukraine because without air defenses, Russia can use more air power, which it hasn't really done yet, to dominate the battlefield even more. Because Russia has today been quite hesitant to use its air force as long as they cannot act with impunity in the skies. So they focus mostly on using their artillery systems. Now, we appear to have reached this point where the air defenses have become so weakened because we see that Russia is already using its air force increasingly often now in areas such as Avdiivka, which means that the war will now drastically shift further to Russia's favor.
Okay, incredibly worrying. Thank you so much indeed. We appreciate your expertise. That's Glenn Dyson there, a Professor of International Relations at the University of Southeastern Norway. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Now, major bilateral developments for India and Ukraine on the horizon. Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister Emine Zafarova landed in Delhi today to commence a 4-day visit to India. She is now the first high-ranking Ukrainian official to visit India since the beginning of the Russia-Ukrainian conflict. Now, Zafarova has arrived at the Indian
Millicent is an NPC in Elden Ring and has an important questline involving Gowrie and Millennia, all of which will be covered in this video. As usual, useful timestamps can be found. Defeat the tree spirit to progress Millicent's quest with 2 summoning signs appearing nearby. We're not at the end of Millicent's questline quite yet, however, this is the important decision-making moment of it. The gold summoning sign will have you aid Millicent in combat against 4 of her sisters. The red summoning sign will have you challenge/betray Millicent instead. Successfully aiding Millicent will reward you with the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia Talisman, which greatly boosts the damage of successive attacks. On top of that, you'll later be able to get Miquella's Needle and a Somber Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. After aiding Millicent, you can speak with her for some final dialogue. Then reload the area and return to her to retrieve the unalloyed gold needle. As a side note, be careful not to jump or fall on her, as doing so will kill her and prevent any further interaction. Fortunately, you will still get the unalloyed gold needle even if you do that by accident. On the other hand, successfully betraying and defeating Millicent will reward you with the Millicent's Prosthesis Talisman, which raises dexterity by 5 and boosts the damage of successive attacks, although to a lesser extent than the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia. As far as I can tell, you will not be able to get Miquella's Needle nor the legendary Somber Smithing Stone if you betray Millicent. When you return to this area after choosing the Betrayal path, Millicent will have bloomed into a scarlet flower. At this point, if you betrayed Millicent, you can go back to Gowry's shack to finish up the storyline. Gowry will be dead when you arrive, and you can pick up the Flux Canvas Talisman along with Gowry's Bell Bearing. The talisman greatly boosts the potency of incantations. You can also get these items if you chose to aid Millicent, but you'll want to wait until after defeating Millennia. And that's basically the end of Millicent's questline for those that choose the path of betrayal. Alternatively, if you aided Millicent and thus got the unalloyed gold needle, you can make use of it after defeating Millennia in the roots of the Hallowed Tree. And I'm not sure how much help I can offer on how to defeat Millennia. I was able to defeat her on New Game Plus after a few tries using an Arcane/Dex build with the Rivers of Blood Katana and a Mimic tier summons. I also had some great equipment for boosting this particular fleet build. I'll leave links near the bottom of the video description for any guides I have on where to get items from my build. The Rivers of Blood Katana did a pretty good job at stunning up Millennia, preventing her from getting off that deadly water valve dance attack. I'll also admit that it took a little bit of luck to get through that first phase. The second phase, on the other hand, was actually fairly manageable once I got the timing down on her attacks. Once you've defeated Millennia, you can use the unalloyed gold needle at the flower that she leaves behind to receive Miquella's Needle and a Somber Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. You can also return to Gowry and find him in a state of despair, eventually just repeating the same few words over and over. Strike him down at that point to get the Flux Canvas Talisman along with his belt. A pretty good job at stunning up Millennia, preventing her from getting off that deadly. Plus, after a few tries using an Arcane/Dex build with the Rivers of Blood Katana and a Mimic tier summons, you chose to aid Millicent. At this point, if you betrayed Millicent, on the other hand, successfully betraying and defeating Millicent will reward you with the Millicent's Prosthesis Talisman, which raises dexterity by 5 and boosts the damage of successive attacks, although to a lesser extent than the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia. As far as I can tell, you will not be able to get Miquella's Needle nor the legendary Somber Smithing Stone if you betray Millicent. When you return to this area after choosing the Betrayal path, Millicent will have bloomed into a scarlet flower. At this point, if you betrayed Millicent, you can go back to Gowry's shack to finish up his storyline. Gowry will be dead when you arrive, and you can pick up the Flux Canvas Talisman along with Gowry's Bell Bearing. The talisman greatly boosts the potency of incantations. You can also get these items if you chose to aid Millicent, but you'll want to wait until after defeating Millennia. And that's basically the end of Millicent's questline for those that choose the path of betrayal. Alternatively, if you aided Millicent and thus got the unalloyed gold needle, you can make use of it after defeating Millennia in the roots of the Hallowed Tree. And I'm not sure how much help I can offer on how to defeat Millennia. I was able to defeat her on New Game Plus after a few tries using an Arcane/Dex build with the Rivers of Blood Katana and a Mimic tier summons. I also had some great equipment for boosting this particular fleet build. I'll leave links near the bottom of the video description for any guides I have on where to get items from my build. The Rivers of Blood Katana did a pretty good job at stunning up Millennia, preventing her from getting off that deadly waterfowl dance attack. I'll also admit that it took a little bit of luck to get through that first phase. The second phase, on the other hand, was actually fairly manageable once I got the timing down on her attacks. Once you've defeated Millennia, you can use the unalloyed gold needle at the flower that she leaves behind to receive Miquella's Needle and a Somber Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. You can also return to Gowrie and find him in a state of despair, eventually just repeating the same few words over and over. Strike him down at that point to get the Phlox Campus Talisman, along with his Bell Bearing. I'm not sure if doing so will have consequences in future updates to the game, so do it at your own discretion. That being said, definitely make sure to do it and pick up this talisman before moving on to New Game Plus. One more thing, if you take in the Flame of Frenzy and want to get out of that ending, you can go to the arena where you fight Dragon Lord Placidusax in the Crumbling Fair Missoula, and use Miquella's Needle there. You don't actually have to fight the Dragon Lord to use the needle, you just need to be in the arena. If you're still having issues with this quest, you can reach out in the comments section and I'll do my best to provide a solution. I also recommend checking my pinned comment as I'll be updating it with helpful information about problems and potential fixes. I'm putting together guides for all of the major quests in Elden Ring. To find those, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day. If you're here today, have a great Monday. And as always, thanks for watching.
Greetings, summoners. With the coming of Raid's 4th anniversary, we remember the prophecy of the chosen four. With 4 years, 4 fallen champions are chosen for reincarnation. But one cannot just control the reincarnation. There's the risk of returning as something entirely different. An epic, a dragon, or even a household pet. Isn't that right, Callie?
Don't wait on prophecy. Join Raid's 4th anniversary event to unlock these Chosen 4 Legendary Editions. New to Raid, use this promo code and get Ultimate Gallic for free.
wise man once said that shields are for pussies. Because why would you hide behind the shield, right? What are you so scared of, soldier? No need for things like a shield. Just pull your weapon out, go in, and let your insane weapon skills do all the talk. Like an actual competent warrior. 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 The time of thinking that shields are boring and passive is over. Today I will show you the true power of shields in Elden Ring. And we can cut it short though, because most shields simply suck in comparison to the best shield in the game. This thing. This shield is the fingerprint shield, and it really just takes all the shine there is. There's just no contest. It has the highest guard boost, the highest elemental and magic damage reduction values, 100 physical damage negation, it builds up mana's for your opponents, it's customizable, and most importantly, it is this massive slab of pure stone. Do I really need to say more? And somehow this massive slab of stone isn't only the best shield from a defensive perspective, it is also the best offensively speaking. And without joking, if you use it like that, it might even be one of the best weapons in the game. This thing deals insane damage in the setup that I'm going to show you in a second, while blocking everything that is coming your way completely. And you face roll the hardest bosses in the game like it's absolutely nothing. Oh wait, before we continue, I want to thank Core for sponsoring today's video. Core is a metaverse of free games to play, designed by the community, or you can also create your own experience to share with others. There are over 50,000 games from pretty much every genre out there: shooters, RPGs, survival, adventure, you name it. Core is completely free and available from the Epic Games Store. Recently, the Avatar Designer was added as well, and you can now express yourself in hundreds of different ways. One of the games I specifically liked is Primal World. It's a fun RPG type of game, and I really like that it has this smooth combat style, just like Elden Ring. In Primal World, you can play with friends